Welcome to the Live Loving live stream with John Davis. Well, hello, my friends. I am sorry I am late this evening. I did an interview this week with a Wisdom from the North, and they had me use Google Chrome, which completely messed up my desk, and I thought I had everything squared away, but I obviously did not. I hope you guys have been waiting, have been going crazy without me. I see a bunch of people are already here already. Thank you so much for being here. And once again, I am sorry I am 20 minutes late, but I have been frantically trying to fix this thing. But now I'm back. So let me just real quick say hello to everybody and jump right over to the board and see what we've missed. Hello to everyone. Where's John? I'm here, Marcy, I promise. Oh my gosh. Jenny, hello. I hope you're still here. Okay, I am back. We got 21 of us watching, so moving down the list here. Larry, what did you think of the Gnostic Thomas post? I hope you're enjoying it. I'm really enjoying going through that again. It's been many years since I've looked at that. Yes, faithful girl. I definitely am late to my own party. You are correct. Moving down. Okay, jumping down. All good. John doesn't wear a watch. I'm here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? If you can hear me, make sure you say hi. Oh yeah, there you go. See. Anyway, hello, my friends. Here I am drinking decaf coffee this evening because I wanted my coffee fixed, but I didn't want to have the caffeine. It's been an amazing week for me. I've been doing a lot of really positive sessions with people and helping people find their way in a very interesting time in their lives. A lot of people are coming to the point where they're coming to retire, and in their retirement they kind of lose their purpose. When you're living your career and you're living as a parent, especially, you define yourself by those roles. And then when your kids go off to college or you suddenly find yourself in retirement, you find that your identity gets questioned. What am I? Who am I? What have I been doing? And where do I go from here? Because for all these years I've been identifying as either my career or my role as a parent. Where do I go from here? And I often will say that that we're the ones who get to put the period at the end of the chapters, and then we get to write the next chapter. And it's a matter of realizing that part of your life has been completed, and now you're moving on to something new. And a lot of people have a big struggle with that. I had a very dear friend who retired from really purposeful work helping the handicapped for years and years and years. And when she finally came to retirement, she left the work, and within a couple months she was going stir crazy, and she went back to work. And then she got back to work, and she says, how did I have time for work before? Because she suddenly realized how much she could do when she was off. And then she retired again. So it really comes down to you remembering that you're the creator of your experience, and you get to define what it is that you are creating into your life. Let me jump over and see what I got here. Yeah, Wisdom from North. She is pretty cool. Her name is Yannicka, and my godmother, Adele Cavatelli, used to call me Yannick, and so we got along real well, she and I. Let's see. How did last Friday evening go for you? Went and saw John Edward last Friday, and this time he did not point in my section and say John or Joan like he did the time before. He was amazing. He pulled out incredible information for people who are all around me, and it was really a real blessing to watch somebody so connected to Source. And then when they asked him some spiritual questions, and it was like he was right in the same line with me. He was saying the same kind of things, and I loved my time there. It was a beautiful time. I also got to hang out with my good friend Holly, who I just enjoy laughing with as well. Let's see. How was that interview? The interview with Yannicka was fun. We had a great time. I actually don't know when it was. She's has to go into editing and go into her queue to release. So I'm not actually sure when it's going to release. I will let you know when it comes out because I'm sure she'll send me an email to let me know it's out. She also has a membership group that she would ask me to be a part of over there at some point. So I'm going to put together a 45-minute class for her membership group, and so we're going to discuss what that might be or what she'd like me to teach. So keep an eye out for that as well. Um, Hello, I am Love68. Glad you're here. Maybe take another quick hit of my coffee. So, what topics would you guys like to talk about this evening? I'm like I said, for me. It's been a busy week, and prior to this live stream, it was a very much of a frazzling time because of the technical stuff. Um, but now I'm here and I'm ready to go. So you tell me what you'd like to talk about, and I will do my best to answer. Um, see what other topics could I just dive into as well. I was talking to someone today about the law of attraction and healing. And my general consensus is that both of them are just types of creation. And it's the simplicity of breaking it down. I am creating a perfect body. I am creating abundance. I am creating a new experience in my life. And the delineation of healing being separate from separate from manifestation or law of attraction, I actually do really think it's more simple. I think it's so clear that it's just we are creators. And we can create health, and we can create wellness, and we can create abundance, and we can create all kinds of things in our life. And it's a matter of just coming to the realization that we are the creator. Whatever you ask in God's name is granted, but God's name is I am. So whatever you're saying, I am healthy, I am healed. It's all a creation. How to stay beautiful in war, physical, spiritual, and mental. First of all, war is an atrocity when you look at what the horrible things that are going on, right? But it's like when Mother Teresa said, she would never go to an anti-war rally. She should go to a pro-peace rally and I'll come. You create a pro-peace rally and I'll come. The concept of that is an interesting one because when you see all these imageries of war and the people being harmed and the buildings being destroyed and all the stuff, we tend to see those images and live through those images. But in those moments, it's like, what can I do? What loving thing can I do? And the loving thing you can do is, first of all, put positive intention and love towards a peaceful solution to whatever the war may be. Number two, if you have means to send help that is very tangible, then do that. Even if it's as simple as signing something that says we're behind this passage of this administration's work towards that or whatever, or that or whatever. If you've got something that you think will truly help promote peace into the world, do those things. If you have the ability, you have to realize that it's kind of like helping yourself anyway, because we're all one. So in the process of thinking about those people who are suffering, do what you can. Give them love however you can. And even if you can't physically go do something, you can intentionally pray. You can send positive vibrations, if that's the word you'd like to use. I just like to say thank you, God, for the peaceful resolution to all the wars in the world. And focus it, if you want, to the peaceful resolution between Ukraine and Russia. Because even the people of Russia themselves are not to blame for the issue. There's a small number of people who are to blame for the atrocities of that war, and so you can pray for the beautiful resolution for the people of Russia and Ukraine. And well, hello. Yes, please do remember to click thumbs up. The The Gnostic Gospel is not fascinating. It is fascinating stuff, and the more I read it, the more I'm reminded of how fascinated I found the Gnostic Gospel of Thomas long ago. It, it it speaks a lot about things I believe, and it's interesting because when I read it from the perspective of what I've been taught and how I live my life, and so there are things that I'm reading that I'm interpreting this way, and other people read the same thing, and they interpret it entirely differently. Like his use of the Sabbath, you know, it could be a religious word, but in that time it just meant a day off, right? So for me, it was that part of the text was to say, love yourself enough to give yourself a break, and because the actual line is, remember to keep the Sabbath as a Sabbath, as a day off, as a day of rest, and so that to me was really important. Let me jump back over here. See what we got. Faithful girl, I love that comment. When you're a part of the solution, the problem doesn't seem as big anymore. Oftentimes, people have a hard time feeling like they're part of the solution. But there was a study done with transcendental meditators. They went into New York City, and they sat in New York City, and they meditated on the word peace for 24 hours. And then they got up and left the city. And during the 24 hours that they were in the city, violent crime went down 50%. And then when they left the city and they stopped doing that, violent crime rose. So it was really a situation where they were bringing that positive intention there. Now, there is no distance. The people in Ukraine and you are one. And so you can sit right in your room and send positive intention to that area of the world and create a loving essence that will bring peace about. The Bible says, when two or more are gathered in my names, there so am I, right? It's about all of us coming together. This is intention and putting it towards that direction. I have some strangers to confront tomorrow. Uh-oh. Who are you confronting, I am Love 68? And why do you need to confront them? That's a good question. I'm reading from Sarah. Your question is, John, what version of Thomas's Gospel do you do to read? Or it says do to read. So I'm assuming, did I read? Or make sure I'm clear on this. I'm coming from the Nag Hammadi texts themselves, so it's from the Gnostic libraries. So I don't know if there's other interpretations or versions. I like to go to the first interpretation because then you don't have all the individual contexts that other people have put into it. What did I learn from reading the Course in Miracles, which is right here? Course in Miracles, right? It's on the shelf behind me. Course in Miracles to me is a fascinating piece of work, and I did a video on my thoughts on the Course in Miracles a long time ago, but the Course in Miracles is interesting because by the time you get to the end of it, it teaches pretty much what I teach. It just takes a year to do it, right? And when I was going through it, I didn't even last the whole year because it was the redundancy was so too much for me. And I'm a redundant guy. That was way redundant. And the only thing I question is the channeler themselves, because and this is what I said in my video as well. I believe the information is good. I just think it's taught in a way that Jeshua would never teach. So I question whether it was the filter that it was coming through needed that sort of structure to bring information through. Just like I said, when I was channeling before, I needed a separate personality to first bring information through. Every channeler in the world is coming through their own filter. Even Edgar Cayce, all his stuff is peppered with his very old Christian stylings. And so you go through the whole process and you look at it and you're like, you can see where the various things have done. But Jeshua was so simple and so his teachings were so simple. Not that he was so simple, but his teachings were so simple and so present moment. And he was like, "You have ears, but you do not hear," because he was really saying, right here, right now. He literally said, "Be here today. Tomorrow will take care of itself." Because he's literally about that present moment statement and being here in this moment. And so, in that regard, when I look at the Course in Miracles, I don't think it's taught the way Jeshua would teach, but I think the information's pretty good. I hope that answers your question. Russian family and Ukrainian family, and they're not against each other. And also, think about this. Right after the war started, Ukrainian mothers were helping Russian soldiers connect with their Russian mothers, and they were finding ways to get the Russian soldiers back to their mothers. And so it had nothing to do with the people; it had everything to do with the autocrats, the authoritarians that are in power, that are trying to get power grabs, and so it's not about the people. All the people love each other. The actual Russians love their children too, as Sting once said, right? And everywhere I've been in the world, I have found beautiful people everywhere. But there are always those few buttheads that will get into power and will mess things up. And eventually, what happens is those ones who get into power and mess things up always fall out of power in the end. Let me drop down here again. There are men who stare, hate at women, and try to follow them to their vehicles at grocery stores. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, so you might have to elaborate on what the situation is, because I don't know. You are quite welcome, Dev. But my growing up taught the devil in hell how to get past the Bible. Well, for me, getting past the Bible was actually pretty easy, and I went to 12 years of CCD, which that's Confraternity for Christian Doctrine, for you heathens out there who don't know what the Catholic kids had to do. It's very easy to get past the Bible when you actually start to look at the history of the Bible, because everyone argues about the Aramaic text and all this stuff, but the original New Testament was written in Greek. It was not written in Aramaic or Hebrew. It was written in Greek, which means it wasn't actually from the original language of Jeshua and the disciples. So it couldn't have been directly written by them originally. Number two, Bible scholars themselves tell you that the Bible is written 50 to 60 years after the crucifixion. And then it got compiled into a Bible 325 years, 300 years after the birth of Christ, right? After the supposed birth of Christ, which we now know is actually not the actual date of birth. Even the year that we live in, with the Catholics will tell you, is 2023. It's actually more like 2029 or 2030 if you actually do go from when the Bible said he was born back in the Herod the Great. So the more you dive into it, and the more you start looking at the text, and you find these contradictions like God is love, but Paul said you can beat your slave so long as he doesn't die because the slave is property. Doesn't sound like love to me. So you just start finding the contradictions in it. And once you start finding the contradictions in it, and then you read the Gnostic text, which I love, and the one that I'm reading now talks about go to James. They asked Jeshua, when you're gone, who do we go to? Who's in charge? He says, go to James, my brother, James the Just. Right? Didn't say go to Peter. But the Roman Church said Peter. And why did the Roman Church say Peter? Because the Roman Church had to say Peter, because Peter went to Rome to spread Christianity. And so he was the disciple that had to become the first pope of the Catholic faith, so that they could literally be the seat of Christianity. So you look at the history of the Bible, and that in itself will start to release its hold on you. Second of all, you look at the etymology of the original words. Gehenna was hell, and Gehenna was a trash dump on the outskirts of Jerusalem, where all the bad stuff went and burned in Gehenna, right? Satanos means temptation, or now it became the devil. It didn't become the devil until 1,300 years later when Dante wrote the Inferno. So all of the imagery that we're using is all medieval imagery. So it doesn't even come from the time of Joshua. It comes from 1,000 years later. So all of those historical facts will give you the one thing. But now let's get to another fact. When you put something loving in the world, you get love in return. When you put fear into the world, you get fear in return. And the Bible says God is love, right? It also says whatever you ask God is granted if you have faith. And is it loving to give somebody something fearful, right? What if you think about this, it says whatever you ask in God's name is granted if you have faith. He didn't say whatever you ask in God's name is granted if it's good. He said whatever you ask for, because we are literally co-creators. And so when the more you start to realize that, for me, my life has turned into a beautiful smile and a beautiful laugh. And I go in, I go, like I say, I go grocery shopping, and I'm surrounded by love. I drive someone to the store, and I'm surrounded by love. My son arrives, and we hug each other, surrounded by love. And it's God is too big to be encompassed by any one religion, but unfortunately, the Catholic faith and the Christian faith in general, because of Constantine the pagan, who was not a Christian until his deathbed, did not get baptized until his deathbed, and came to the Nicene Council dressed as the pagan sun god. So, I mean, he partied like a pagan his whole life and then went to a Christian heaven when he got baptized. So it was literally an experience of all of those judgments, those fears, those anxieties are now in the faith, and to be afraid of hell means you're afraid of the trash dump. To be afraid of the devil is to be afraid of temptation. And when you put your belief in fear, God lovingly gives you fearful things, because that was the promise. That was the most loving thing Source could do, because you are literally a co-creator, if that makes any sense. Let me jump back over. Hell is man-made. Men who believe that evil can be used to install fear of control. Fear is for control, and the Catholic faith has created a recruitment tool called original sin, meaning you have to be, you're born as a terrible, horrible person with sin, and you have to be baptized into the faith to get over it. I have no idea who Haile Selassie is. KMR Spirit, but I do not believe in ascended masters. So the ascended master concept is something that is part of the New Age movement. I believe there are people who have come to their awareness, but the ascended master concept is very much a different. I pray to the ascended master. It's putting people in a hierarchy. And Jeshua never said that he wanted to be placed on a pedestal. He always said that he himself was equal with all of us. And he was showing us what he had found within himself, as did Buddha, as did Krishna. And so it really comes down to realizing it's not about something outside of you that you look towards or pray with, or it's about you coming to that space within. Hello, Lynn. How are you? Up there in Alaska. You made it here. It's middle of the afternoon for you, isn't it? There's a lot of abductions here in Texas. As a 2-time honorable discharged man, I will do what I have to do for my community. Do what you have to do for the people who need your love. But don't focus on the abductions. Focus on making it a safe place. Religion needs updating for sure. Actually, religion needing updating is an interesting thing, Sarah, because the Protestant faith and the Catholic faith have lost 51% of their congregation over the last 20 years. I truly believe religion is falling away, and I think that we're coming to a place where we are coming to that oneness of God within ourselves and rising to our own divinity. I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand with the people I talk to. Everybody I talk to wants to know how they can do it, as opposed to who do I need to pray to. And to me, that's just such a beautiful thing. Well, hello, Angela. Thank you for being here. Oh, greetings and love from India. Hello. I loved my time in India. Yes, Hinduism, Buddhism. I talk about that quite a bit, actually. Um, the concept of our beliefs being creative is something that is found in Hinduism. It's something that's found in Buddhism. It's something found in Christianity. No one religion has the monopoly on God. They all have a way to it. The Bible says, "In my Father's house there are many mansions." If you can find love in whatever form you're doing, and you can find love without fear or judgment, then you have found God. And I have my time in India. I was surrounded by loving, caring people, and I had a wonderful time there. My time in Egypt was the same way. Surrounded by beautiful Muslim people. Um, everywhere I've been, I did Renaissance festivals. I was surrounded by Wiccans, and they're beautiful, lovely people. I've just found myself surrounded by lovely people everywhere I've gone. And Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, Baha'i, all of them have love at its core. But it's all the man-made rules and laws and stories and tales and methods and modalities that are of the mind of man that obscure the fact that you're never separate from God and you are always one with God and right there with you at all times. And the forms of meditation that you use in Hinduism and Buddhism and what I call sitting in love is coming back to that oneness and that source. And I think you can find it in all the faiths. It's just a matter of being open to finding the love as opposed to struggling with the fears and the anxieties, or making sure you get it right with the modalities and the techniques. So let me jump back over. Uh, Edgar, how are you? Knoxville, Tennessee. I love my time in Tennessee too. I used to direct the Tennessee Renaissance Festival over near Murfreesboro at a place called Arrington. There you go. I made the first samosas. There you go. The original church is within ourselves. I love that. I do. I love that because I found people who find their connection to God walking through the woods. I find others who find their connection to God watching a sunrise on the beach. I find people who find their connection to God just talking to people. I personally find my connection to God in everything and everyone because I choose to look for it. Mother Teresa, they asked her one day what she does every day. She said, every day I go out and I look into the face of Jesus in all of his distressing masks. And she basically sees everyone as a connection to God, right? Of course, she's coming from a Christian perspective. So, but if you take the Jesus part out of that and put it into look into the face of God and all of his distressing masks, that's kind of the thing, You look at God and you love God. It comes back to you. Yes, samosas. You guys love that. Um, talking about the various religions. Oh, thank you, Siddharth. I hope I'm saying that. Siddharth Kohli. Did I say that right? Siddharth, I have a question for you, young man. I think you're a man, right? I completely believe that you had won one of my free readings, and I never heard back from you. I completely believe that. It was one of the ones that I put it out on a video saying these are all the winners, and I believe you were one because I remember that name. So did you get that message? And if not, go to my website and use my contact form. Contact me there, and I'll send you the link. So, Chitra, are you saying yes to what? I want to know what you're saying yes to so I can agree. So I can say yes to. Yes, you were one of the winners. Is that what you're saying, Siddharth? Did anyone you were with talk about choosing their parents or pre-birth experiences? Anyone when I was with in a past life? Is that the question you're asking? Let me know and then I'll answer that. Oh, Siddharth. Okay, okay. Uh, okay, great. All right, beautiful. Okay, wonderful. Yes, you were definitely the one there because everybody else got theirs. And in fact, I just did two of them the other day, and I wanted to make sure because I knew that name. that name is an easy one to remember as opposed to a generic name like John Davis. Um, I'll tell you one of the interesting things about me. I love names. I love really cool, interesting names, and I think it's because my name is so generic, and so I love to hear how people pronounce their names. I remember when Gal Gadot got her role as Wonder Woman. It used to make me mad when all the people talking about her would say Gal Gadot. I'm like, figure out how to say their name. Give her the respect of that. And to me, because I think it's just important to find out their people's names and treat them with enough respect to know their name. So a lot of times I'll get a name that comes through um, my private sessions, and I will look up how to pronounce it before I even get on with them, so that I can say it correctly the first time, because I think it's important. Uh, oh, I probably did have to. Yep, faithful girl. Okay, great. Kathy, right? uh, so your question was, let me go back up to, did anyone talk about choosing their parents or pre-birth experiences? Absolutely not. Those are actually very new age beliefs, but I've met a lot of people who talk about it now, um, and a lot of people who believe it now. And I'm not going to say they're wrong because that would be completely wrong of me to do. Um, I think that if that was their experience, great, you know. But they never talked about it back in to John of old anyway. Jenny Brown, yeah, you and I both, Jenny Brown, Ohio people. I think it's why we live in a state that has an O in the beginning and an O at the end because they just weren't that imaginative. High in the middle, right? um, it's interesting though, but when you look at the etymology of names, I find it really interesting. Um, John means gift of God. Charles, my middle name, means man. Davis means son of David, right? And which is what they used to call Jeshua. And so, right, just using those etymologies, um, it literally is gift of God, man, son of David. So it's almost like paying tribute to Jeshua ben Joseph himself. But then when you look at the name David means beloved, which I thought was really interesting too. So son of David, son of beloved. So there's all my name, as generic as it is, actually has such great meaning to it. And then I do actually love my name. Bringing before the veil. My name is David James Bruce. Charlie Palmer, generic, yeah. David James Bruce. Oh, I like it. Um, being before the veil. I would. What is your channel? What are you about there, David? I'd like to know about that. That'd be interesting. Beautiful river in Iroquois. Yeah, we have the one river that caught on fire. Hello, John Morris. Welcome, welcome. I'm a palm bearer. I'm not. I'm not sure what you're saying there. I am Love 68. Um, let me jump over here real quick. Um, I'm going to do something to Marcy right now. Bink. Bink. Marcy, there you go. I hope that's good for you. Oh, okay. There you go. Oh, did you just ask me about putting your link up. Is that what that was? Um, okay. Oh, cool. Um, oh my gosh. Ooh, Ahmad. Yep, Spirit made me do it. Marcy, my good friend. I kind of roped her into it, and and she lovingly said yes, and I appreciate her and love her for it. Um, um, do I find it interesting that some people who were once religious, like Dr. Bert Ehrman, become atheists once they discover the fallacy in the Bible, whereas others, such as yourself, do not? It's a very good question, Edgar. When my mom said to me, spirituality was a personal journey, um, and my first thought was, oh, cool, I don't have to go to church anymore, and I became an atheist. And I found out very quickly, as an atheist, you're subject to the news and what the physical world shows you, and predominantly the news, the television about will tell you about all the negative things in the world. And so I became depressed real quickly. Can you hold on for 1 second? I gotta close my door. My son's making noise in the other room. And so I'm back. So I had become an atheist, and didn't last very long. And then I became a seeker, and I started searching and studying and reading whatever I could. And then my sister turned me on to a book called, and actually, it's very interesting. I had my Kundalini rising totally spontaneously, and then I had my first out of body experience that I remember as an adult, because I was told about ones I had as a child later. And um, I had these great experiences, and my sister turned me on to a book which put me down a journey of then studying everything from Buddhism and Hinduism and all the stuff that's here and all those two big giant bookshelves over there. So I do find it interesting. I think everyone has a personal journey, and some atheists get more and more bitter. You look at people like Bill Maher. He's a very bitter man. And you look at what's his name? Oh, the philosopher guy whose daughter is the carnivore poster child. Forget his name, but he was atheist, and now he's a devout Christian. So it's just a different journey. It's also like Doreen Virtue, who was the angel card lady and the psychic medium and all this stuff. And now she's a born again Christian. I think it really is goes back to that one line that I use a lot. When you seek a path will be laid before you, but until you turn the path back to yourself, you never find the doorway. You can go down a path until you come to a dead end, and when you see nothing more there, you'll see something shiny somewhere else, and you go to a different path. But it all comes back to finding God within yourself, finding the oneness there, and coming back to that space. But I think it's interesting that we all have our path. We all have our journey that we go through. I think it's interesting that some people, become Hindus, and some people. I shared a stage with a man from New York City, Johnny Fox. That was his real name, and he was a professional sword swallower who was a Hindu, and I had great conversations with him backstage. He had a whole altar back there, and yeah, it was a lovely time. So, jumping back over here. Left religion and am now spiritual, but I still say I'm a DI. I'm not sure what a DI, disciple of Jeshua. Okay. I the catchphrase "I'm spiritual, not religious." That would be the closest that I have to my own personal identification. I almost choose not to define it, because I think definitions of self can be limiting. Because people will say, well, what does that entail? And then you have to start creating the list, and then that starts creating the structure. Then, to me, I'm like, be love. I love the Dalai Lama said, my religion is simple, my religion is kindness. And Muhammad said, he who knows not kindness has no faith. So it comes down to the feeling, not the structures and the modalities and the rules and the titles and the names and the definitions. It comes down back to the feeling and just giving and being love. And in just giving and being love, you come to a space of realizing that is it. That is really the key to it all. And to me, it's worked out tremendously well. But once again, I don't ask you to believe what I believe, because I think that would be wrong too. I think it would be completely wrong of me to say you must believe as I believe. All I do is I speak my truth. And if my truth resonates with you, great. If my truth doesn't, great. Follow your truth, because I'm not supposed to tell you what your truth is. Because as my mom said, the wisest woman in the world, spirituality is a personal journey. It's yours to walk. It's yours to trek. And it's yours to figure out what you believe. Love is my own law. Beautiful. Like that. Beautiful. I miss the sacraments. I don't miss not getting up on Sunday morning, I'll tell you that. Yeah, and you know what? Keep, as far as Doreen Virtue's angel cards, if they work for you, great, Just because she's found a different path doesn't mean that the tools that she left behind aren't valuable to those who use them. Because that's your journey, right? Do you know if your guardian angels are you or your relatives who have just passed away? I feel that spirits are guiding me and helping me in my life. I'll talk about this a different way. The guardian angel thing, I'm not really into the concept of a guardian angel, but I think in the terms of oneness. But I think within that oneness are all the people we know. All right. My mom has come through a medium like 5 different times now. And if you want to know a really good medium, her name is, oh my gosh, I did an interview with her. What? I'll have to get back to you on her name. I'll put it in the community tab on the channel. Oh my gosh, I really wish I could remember it right now. But she speaks in Milton, Delaware quite often. But my mom has come through her, my dad has come through her, and with very specific information. Sometimes when I'm writing, I hear my mom laughing at the jokes that I write. Or my friend Bill, who played King Henry VIII, he was 6'8" and 550. I feel his chest hit my face like he's hugging me. And every so often, I feel the presence of Jeshua. And I think that it's not about the structure of having specific guardian angels. I think the oneness of God is there, and the ones that we are most closely connected to are the ones that we connect to. And I think they're always there, and I really do believe that we are the ones who are away. I think of the physical world kind of like scuba diving, because we know that scientifically we release our fear by releasing the air out of our bodies, because we hold air in when we're afraid. And every 16 hours, you start to yawn because you start releasing your fear so that you can go into a different conscious state, and you go back to source at nighttime. And so you're going back, and you're with them every night. But just down here in the physical, you have the blinders on. And that's really my belief about the whole thing. Oh, good night. I am Love 68. It was a pleasure having you here. Your truth has resonated a lot with me of the past year and a half during this adult spiritual journey I have been on. It has been tremendous. It's so great that you're finding your truth and you're going there. And I find that a lot of people use the word resonate. They resonate with what I'm talking about. But I also find the ones who say, I resonate with a lot. I don't agree with you all the time. And I'm like, great. That means you're using your discernment. And that's the way it should be. No one should ever tell you what you're supposed to believe. Someone one time said to me, John, are you going to start a new religion? I said, no way. Because we don't need more religions. We need more people touching the oneness of God. And that's oneness, not congregationness. What's interesting about the one who helped me not get hit by a tree in the campground, I had a very big intention that I was going down there to do that Renaissance festival. I had no intention of ever being hit by a tree. Most people don't have that intention, but a lot of people have the intention of going, thinking their life sucks. And at that moment, my life didn't suck. My life, I had just come into a real serious bit of freedom. So the oneness of God, comes in all forms. The guy who told me to move my trailer that night, he was dressed in a way that I would have dressed. He was driving an old pickup truck that looked a lot like my father's old pickup truck. And he had a dog and a little straw hat. He was somebody who I would laugh and joke with and have a good time with. So it was an aspect of the oneness of God. I also was at a real estate convention one time, and an elderly gentleman with a big white handlebar mustache, he and I ended up missing half the conference because he was helping me come to my awareness of my own spiritual self. And it was very interesting because it was not about him preaching anything. It was like he was saying, tell me what you've learned. And I had to share what I was learning. And it happened to me in Germany too. Do I think they're guardian angels? No, I think they're aspects of God. But I don't have the hierarchy of a guardian angel. I think it's all oneness of God. And so it's not that I think the guardian angel concept is bad. I don't. It's just not in my personal belief. It's part of my discernment to go, I don't believe in a hierarchy because I believe so completely in equality. And I don't believe in the hierarchical structure of it. So I think it's a very, very, very earthly concept, that hierarchical structure. By the way, guys, if you haven't had one yet, boy, everyone's telling me Marcy's readings, man, they're telling me they rock. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you should do it because she's kicking butt over there. What about sharing control between the spirit and the ego? Thank you so much for switching that over to all caps, Marcy. It's lovely. And you guys, you can actually help out. If you put your questions in all caps, it makes it much easier for us on here. Siddharth, I'm very excited. I'm very excited to talk to you live. It'll be great. Sharing control between spirit and ego. The word ego just means self-awareness. It's matter being aware of you in the I, meaning in the physical conscious moment. That's what the word ego means. The spirit is the lack of that awareness. It's the being, the less connectedness. And what you're asking, what about the sharing control between spirit and ego? The concept of the sharing control is where I lose you, because it sounds like a very schizophrenic sort of statement. It's like there's this struggling against that, and they're kind of having this thing. I am both, and so when I go out of body, it's me choosing to go out of body. When I sit in love, it's me choosing to sit in love. When I go out in my backyard and dig up a tree and move it, a little tiny arborvitae tree that grew like a volunteer, and move it, I went and did that in the physical. And I was very aware that I physically did it. I was especially very aware that I did that, the several hours after that when I was very sore. So I'm not really sure where the concept of needing to share control between those two comes into play, because it never comes into play for me. I don't even think of it that way. I am both. I am one. And so I do both, and one, just like I breathe. So I don't really understand the concept of having to share control between the two. See that? Somebody right there said had a great reading with Marcy today. Marcy rocks. There's another one. See that? Guys, gotta jump over there. Spirit movie. thanks. Edging God out equals ego. Edging God out. Huh. That's an interesting concept. But the word ego itself comes from psychology, and it literally means the awareness of the I of the individual. So I like when they start creating these terminologies like fear, false evidence appearing real, and I don't even think of it that way. I think of fear as basically negatively focused uncertainty. Yes, and her YouTube channel does rock. Her daily videos are awesome. Anyway, where are we? Taking a quick drink here. Do we have any more questions before we go on? Me. Ego. It sounds like you're doing opera. Me. Ego. Right. See, what else are we talking about tonight? Anything else, guys? Anything else you'd like me to talk about? I know we're getting ready to wind down here soon, even though I started 20 minutes late. We'll go to 20 after, so I get the full hour in. Actually make this better or not? What does that mean? Yeah. Armadillo_15. If I feel a shift in energy meditating, is it really a divine energy? It usually makes me feel like my spirit has expanded outside of my body into the universe. So what it is, honestly, in my opinion, is you letting go of the illusion that you're not divine energy. It's you letting go and going back into that awareness of being something more divine. And that is what Jeshua was teaching, is that you are divine. You are the oneness of God. And when you expand your consciousness like that, you're seeing your full divine self as opposed to the physical separate self, which is the son of the trilogy, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The son of the trilogy is the physical world consciousness. The Father is the overarching God consciousness, and the Holy Spirit is you in your complete individual self-consciousness with inside of the oneness of God, but aware of your physical consciousness. And what Jeshua did was he was aware in all three of them. And by being aware in all three of them, and what Buddha did, and Krishna did, and Muhammad did, and Baha'u'llah did, they all came to this awareness. And that awareness is divine. So don't negate the fact that just being broader and aware and released from the physical body, that is divine. That is the divine energy. And you are the divine energy. So don't give up on yourself. Do I ever wish there were memories about your past life you don't want to remember? You know what? I don't think that way. I don't think back. Well, I wish I hadn't seen the crucifixion. I wish I hadn't seen, I wish I hadn't seen that, right? Because all of those experiences, to me, first of all, they're the past. There's nothing I can do about them. They're already done, right? And two, they made me who I am in this present moment. Without having had those experiences, I wouldn't be John Davis, John of New, right here, right now. I might be still processing from the abuse of my father, or, some of those things that I could have become victim to, and I didn't. Those things could be what I'd be living right now. But instead, all of those other experiences that I've had in my life with my father, with the past life members, with all those things, have made me who I am. And I truly do live a joyful life. I truly do live a joyful life. I wish that the world, and I'm using the word wish right now, I do wish the world would step into their own divinity and feel what I feel, because when you start living a loving life, life loves you. Life truly loves you. And when you live a fearful life, it gives you things to be fearful for. So just literally walk into living a loving life. And when you live that loving life, it will surround you. And it is so beautiful. It is such a beautiful thing to experience. Oh boy. Jumping down. Can you talk about your forgiveness of self? What do I need to forgive? What do you need to forgive? I mean, is it something in the past that's done? If you're talking about your conscience, that's another thing, right? That's a subconscious past life memory that you feel bad about, right? If it's going to plague you the rest of your life, the first thing you can do is try to go make amends, and because it's usually somebody else involved. If you can't make amends with them, or they don't accept it, then you have to be the one who releases the anchor of that experience. Now, the easiest way to do that is, number one, forgive yourself, but forgive in this way: FORE-GIVE. Give love first. Give love first. You know, you've done something wrong somewhere that you feel you've done, and your conscience is bothering you. Go back and try to make it better. If they don't accept it, do everything you can to get to make it right. And if they don't accept it, there comes a point where you have to say, I did everything I can, but now it's their choice. And I am giving myself love so that I can move forward. I'm going to cut the anchors of the past. With my father, you know, how do I forgive my father for what he did? I just understood that he was a human too. And sometimes with my own transgressions, I had to forgive myself that permission. Yeah, I did something dumb. I forgive myself for that, right? There's nothing I can do about it now, and if there is, I would do something about it, right? But if there was nothing I could do about it, I would have to go say, I will from this point on never have that experience again, never have that transgression again. I will never miss the mark of love again. And then you move forward and do better. And your subconscious mind gets filled with you doing better things. And your subconscious mind gets filled, and those conscience moments start to dissipate because they are living in the subconscious. So you have to release the past by filling in the future with good and positive loving things. And that really is how you clear out your conscience. How do I learn whether I can actually directly affect the situation or not? The question I ask myself is, can I actually make this better or not? I have a blockage with how to accept. Can you share with me an example? Because there's so many situations here that could be applied to this, and I can give you examples of how I would handle certain situations, but I don't know which situation you're talking about. So give me a situation that I can work with, and I can give you a more accurate answer. Ho'oponopono. Yeah, just like, you know, you can all use all sorts of techniques for forgiveness, but understand all forgiveness, all belief comes from you, and the techniques might help you if that's for you. But you got to remember, it all comes from your belief, and I think the technique can be fine if that's what you believe. Go that way. How can you forgive yourself when it was done to myself and no one else? So it was done to yourself, right? When do you put a period on the end of that chapter? When do you say that was that part of my life, and when do I move on? Because the next part of your life can be a tragedy, living in the victimhood of what you've done in the past. Or you can say, from this point on, I am doing something different. And I am writing a comedy, not a tragedy. You know, or as my life is, an action comedy adventure, right? But you don't have to write the tragedy, because if you're focused on what you've done in the past, you are living in the subconscious mind. The past is done. There's nothing you can do about it. All you can do is make the present moment as great as you possibly can, so that those memories get pushed further and further away from your experience. Because your subconscious mind is nothing but an underlying belief created from your past present moment memories. And the more new positive present moment memories you create, you fill your subconscious mind and overpower all the negatives. But you have to be the active one who says, I am joyfully living a life of love and moving forward. I am joyfully, and you don't even, that was then, this is now, I am moving forward. If you can stay in that kind of state, I am joyfully living better. I'm joyfully a different person. Because I can tell you right now, I'm a different person than I was in high school. I was a complete introvert in high school who was succumbing to the abuse of my father, right? I got out of high school, I went off to the Renaissance Festival. For a brief time, I got really into a really big ego because my show became real popular. And I broke myself out of that. And then, I just went and I did more and more things. And there was one thing that I discovered early on. I used to always say, I want to do this thing, but I always thought I needed someone else to do stuff. And when I discovered it's only me, then I started being successful at everything that I wanted to do. It's only you. You're the only one who can make the changes in your world. And you're the only one who can forgive yourself. So the only way you forgive yourself is to give yourself love in this moment so that this moment can be loving. And so it can drop into your subconscious mind as a loving moment. Moving down. Siddharth, just something to smile about. Indian gurus, while referring to the disciplines of Jeshua, who were truly enlightened, placed John of old as foremost. Well, darn right they did. I'll tell you an interesting story, Siddharth. I was taken to Delhi by a man who wanted me to help his brother heal. And he told some people that I was coming, and they lined up around the block, have private I had 2 days of private sessions with Indian people, which was lovely. It was such a beautiful, loving experience, and I loved it. I loved it. I ate all that great food, and then came back to the States, and that's when I had my run to the bathroom. Let's just say that. That's so nice to hear. Thank you, Chitra. It's interesting, John of old, and I consider myself John of new. John of old was a different aspect. When you read the Bible, his is the most esoteric. His is the most, God is love, and no fear can exist in pure love, and beautiful stuff. I can help others and become their own beloved self by devoting my attention and sensitivity towards them. Power really does lie with them. And it's a matter of sometimes giving the positive reinforcement and showing them what they can do. Because a lot of people will beat themselves up because they've been told their whole lives that they're not powerful. And give them something they can be good at, even if it's something small, and give them praise for how good it is. And start to give them a love, and start to show them loving examples. I had a young girl when I was directing the Florida Renaissance Festival, came in, complete introvert, really not, what I would consider an actor, or a comedian. And I started training the cast, and she took to the training like a duck to water. And it was amazing how good of a performer she became just by someone giving her the positive reinforcement and a place to play safely. You give the people in your life a place to play safely, and play safely means a place where they can be themselves without having to put on a mask, because that is the key. People want to be loved unconditionally, but they can't be loved unconditionally if they have conditions in themselves that they have to put a mask on to get positive reinforcement. Love them for who they are. Give them the positive reinforcement for their authentic self, and watch them thrive. Watch them thrive. Love and forgiveness and no judgment. I agree with you. Allendale. What a cool name that one is. All right. Good night, Chitra. It was a pleasure having you here. All right, Larry. Put your question in again, and we'll try for it. You're so welcome, Karen Gallagher. Good spelling of Karen too. Boy, you guys have good names tonight. Really didn't believe we could heal until I found my girlfriend dead a couple years and asked for help healing her, then witnessed and felt her be healed for all organ failure. It was eye-opening. Shimi walked in and said he thought he knew you and wants to meet you. Maybe he'll join on Wednesday. Oh, cool. That sounds lovely. Sounds lovely, Lynn. Good night, Sarah. Yeah, it's time for me to sign off too, folks. It has been lovely. Once again, I'm sorry I was late. I'm sorry I was late. The technicals won't happen next week, and we'll have a much better one next Friday. And next Friday, my friends, is my birthday. So we'll have a birthday celebration drink next Friday on my 29th birthday times plus 30. So you guys have a great night. I'll see you next Friday. Oh, hang on, Larry. Why do you think we feel separate from God and each other when in reality not true? Larry, I'm going to answer your question just before I go. We are here experiencing our separation, God, so that we can come to know God fully. If we never, our friend Kim Carey said it best. If you lived in a purely white environment and you were purely white and everything was purely white, you would never know what white was because you had nothing to compare it to. And the opposite of love is fear. So we come down to the physical world to feel our conditional love, our fears, our separations, so that we can come to know love not only through giving and receiving it, but by feeling the lack of it. But sometimes feeling the lack of it as well, and feeling those fearful moments and those moments where we don't feel loved. And then we go back to the pure oneness of the love of God, and we experience it fully. So, anyway, good night all. It's been lovely. Marcy, thank you so much for being an amazing moderator. I love you for that. And make sure you guys go get readings from Marcy. Spirit made me do it. And Aries is an underscore dash, aristotle.com. Put it in the chat again there, Marcy. Night. So, love you all. Have a great night. And I'll wait for Marcy to put her website in there again before I shut this thing down. So we can make sure everybody can see it. Okay. There it is right there, guys. Go to that website. Get a reading from Marcy. And we will see you guys next Friday night on my birthday night. So you're on May 26th? Oh, well, I knew there's only one good birthday, you know. My nephew's twin children are born on the 26th as well. So it's a good date to be born. Have a great night all. Love you all, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.